Welcome to the Oscar morning special of the Screen Hoppers. Michael and I are sitting down today to discuss the Best Picture nominees and engage in a little friendly wager. So thank you for joining us. We hope that you enjoy this episode. We hope you enjoy the Oscars. Michael, how you doing this morning, buddy, on this fine Oscar morning?
I'm doing great. I love the Oscars, even though I shouldn't.
You say this so often. You love them so much. You actually watch all the before.
I watch all the
and
red carpet bullshit.
And
that's kind of what I like. I like the pomp and circumstance. I like spectacle. I like when things are fancy for the sake of being fancy. But I also think that it's all kind of meaningless and masturbatory. And I find celebrity culture annoying, but I fall for the Oscars every single year.
I don't even know if it's falling for it. I mean, I think you legitimately promote it. I checked out of the Oscars for years and years and years. I didn't get back into them until a couple years ago, and now I'm all in. But I'm all in on the film. I don't really care about the pomp and the circumstance. I'm really happy that Conan is hosting again this year because I'm such a Conan stan. His show started in 1993. I would have been, 10 years old. I wouldn't have been able to watch it just then, but I remember by the 7th grade, I was staying up way too late to the point where it was affecting my grades in my life to watch Conan O'Brien's show.
Well, yeah, because he was the after.
Yeah.
He was late night. So he didn't even start till 12:30 something?
I think he finished 12:30. I think he started at 11:30. I was in Mountain Time. And
Mountain Time.
And I just couldn't get enough of Conan O'Brien. I watched him every night, didn't miss him. And now he's got his podcast and I listen to it pretty religiously, and having him host the Oscars is legitimately surreal because he's both the perfect choice and the weirdest choice in the world.
I like weird. I'm glad they're not going Kimmel for the 1,000th time.
Oh, yeah. Don't get me started on Kimmel. I am glad that we have Conan O'Brien. Rather than complaining about other hosts, I am so pleased that Conan is there again.
And
getting 2 years in a row is fantastic.
This year's slate of movies has some weirdness. He'll have stuff to work with that I think is kind of on brand.
Nothing as good as what he did for The Substance last year, though.
No.
So, speaking of the slate, let's get into it. So we're going to be doing our Oscar ballots, as I mentioned. You and I have a little wager going today.
Yes. So I have my Oscar ballot filled out. I have made my best guesses for all, I think it's 24 categories this year. And we will see which one of us comes out on top.
Whoever wins this wager gets to choose any weekend in all of movie history. No blockbusters required. We can go pre-1975. We'll be doing a bonus episode that I think we're going to be recording in April. And that person gets to choose both the headliner movie for the weekend as well as first choice of their movie. And we'll completely break format for that. And so I think that'll be a really fun episode, but it also is a pretty cool wager because
it's going to give us an opportunity to either celebrate something smaller or something older. But it'll be
or just
fun
something that we've always wanted to see. There are so many movies I have on my list that I've always wanted to see that are just outside the window of screen hopping.
I know there's so many angles to take this from. I could just pick something that I think will annoy you, perhaps.
I'm not easily annoyed when it comes to movies, but there are some. I don't know what you could pick that would necessarily annoy me, though.
Twilight.
I mean, what?
Twilight.
I don't think Twilight would annoy me.
I think the first one's kind of fun.
I would happily watch a Twilight movie. I wouldn't be mad if we had to do one.
I'm not going to.
I think I would be more annoyed if you wasted your vote on a Twilight weekend, actually. I think that would be the annoying part, was that you could go back and take us. You could take us to Gone with the Wind, or you could take us to Cool Hand Luke, or you could take us to, I don't know, Metropolis, and you would take us to Twilight. I think that would be obnoxious.
No, if I'm lucky enough to win this, I will not waste the prize on something crappy.
Do you know where you're going to take us?
No, I'm very torn.
I think if I win, I'm going old.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely going pre-1970.
Yeah, I mean, that might be the move. We'll see when
It's
the rubber hits the road.
Let's do this. Let's go into our best pictures, Michael. So did you get a chance to see all of them this year?
I did. I saw all 10 Best Picture nominees, and I think it is a good slate.
I'm really happy with this year's slate. There's a lot of things that I like about it. I don't think it's quite as fun as last year's slate. I will never get over watching The Substance in that room. So I go every year to the Cinemark Oscar Pass that they do here in our area, and they show the movies for an entire week. And it is predominantly.
And you meet all your new best friends.
Well, not this year, honestly. A lot of the ladies were actually. I had some bad theater experiences this time. In fact. I got into a little bit of a tiff with an older lady this time, but it's always a bunch of like 60-plus-year-old women is predominantly who are there, and the way in which The Substance and Honora just deeply offended every fiber of their beings was just, it was so sweet. It was so good.
Last year it was fun. I wish I was there for The Substance. That probably was even more entertaining than the movie. Which I liked. I liked that movie.
Oh, I like that movie too. But no, actually, Honora was the one that really upset the old ladies because they thought it was a rom-com.
They shouldn't have.
No, they definitely shouldn't have. But I remember one of them coming out and saying, that wasn't a rom-com. That was a runch-com. And I couldn't help but insert myself because...
I mean, that was pithy. Points for that.
I guess. I inserted myself because I couldn't help it. And they were just like, they would have never given an award to a movie like that in the past. And of course, it went on to win Best Picture. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like Midnight Cowboy was an X-rated film that won Best Picture famously. Like this is not new, but this year actually it wasn't about the content of the movies. It was actually more theater etiquette. We had reserved our seats and we went to sit in our seats and there was this old lady just sitting in our seats. And
that's my seat.
Yeah, and we were like, "Hey, like can we have our seats?" And she looked at me and she said, "Are you really going to make me move?" And I was
sure
like,
am.
I was like, "Are you really going to make me ask you? Like I don't know why like you're putting this back on me." And we were going to be in that theater for 2 movies back to back and I was like, "I'm not just my seat for one movie, it's my seat for 2." And not only did she like grudgingly get up and go to her proper seat, she then proceeded to complain to everybody in the theater that we made her do this. And they all empathized with her. Like I became the villain of the theater. So, yeah,
that's bizarre. Actually,
it was. It's actually
not her reaction, but that people took her side.
Yeah, I was like, how do you take this person's side? Like she just randomly took my seat. If we were 10 minutes late to the movie and the movie started, and they were like, "Hey, these seats are empty. I'm going to move into them." No harm, no foul. Right?
Of course.
No, we were legitimately right on time. There were still previews. Like, yeah. And I was like, we're not.
I mean, also, it's reserved seating is not a new concept.
At any rate. So let's go through. Let's break them down. So do you have an order that you want to go through our best pictures? Because I really love this best picture lineup. I would say that there is not a single movie on this list that I did not at least enjoy.
There is not a bad movie on this list.
There really isn't. There is
one
no
that I did not
lives.
enjoy. 2 that I did not enjoy, but that does not make them bad movies.
I'm in the same boat. There are actually 2 that I did not enjoy. Does not make them bad movies, but I just always hold it up. Was there a Past Lives on the list? And there was not. Which I know you like Past Lives. That movie.
I like Past Lives enough.
That movie is a waste of time. That was a waste of Greta Lee's time. That was a waste of my time. That movie was a waste of time.
And I just like that there's a little bit of everything in here. Like it's not a bunch of like Merchant Ivory movies. There's variety.
No, it's actually, I really think that there's really only 2 Oscar baity movies. And they're actually my 2 least favorite movies on the list, if I'm being honest.
I wonder if our bottom 2 are the same.
I have they might be. I don't know. You didn't like Train Dreams, so.
It's not in my bottom 2.
Not in your bottom 2? Okay, then I think our bottom 2 probably are the same. So
I think they're inverted if I had to wager.
Let's start at the bottom. So my bottom movie for this year is Sentimental Value. I don't think this movie belongs on the list. I saw No Other Choice and It Was Just an Accident this year. Both would have been better options as an international pick to be on here, especially No Other Choice. That movie got absolutely snubbed this year, but I did really love their campaign after they got snubbed. Did you see it?
I did not. I only, of the three that you just mentioned, Sentimental Value is the only one that I saw.
Oh, no, just the campaign, the poster.
No.
So they put up a billboard in LA that said, for your consideration, with the main character holding the giant pot above his head the way he was in the ads. But so the pot was covering the O and R, so it just said F your consideration.
That's funny.
Which, you know what? I that movie got snubbed. Like, that was a legitimate oversight. But at any rate.
Yeah, I also did not love Sentimental Value. That is my number 9.
That's your number 9. So what's your number 10?
1 through 10. My number 10 is one that a lot of people really did like, Hamnet.
That is my number 9. So yeah, our bottom two match perfectly. I think Hamnet is Oscar bait.
I agree that it is Oscar bait. I think that it is quite one note. I think it is a 2+ hour movie with maybe 20 minutes of story.
I really struggle to figure out how you tell the story of William Shakespeare and have William Shakespeare not be witty and smart.
Yes, and
that alone was really difficult for me as a movie. It just made me want to go watch Shakespeare in Love.
Yes,
because I want my Shakespeare. Like, that's not my Shakespeare.
So I will not take anything away from Jessie Buckley's performance. She is given quite a bit to do. She does it quite well. But my problem is, one, I found Paul Mescal's Shakespeare annoying, not witty and charming and smart and crazy. I thought he was just kind of whiny and mostly absent, really, if we're being honest.
He's boyish and foolish. And in all fairness, it's not a story of him, but he still is in the movie. And I think that if you're going to have William Shakespeare represented in a movie, I mean, this is like, I don't know. This is like putting Abraham Lincoln. This is like putting Jesus Christ. Like, when you put a character that has survived this long in the public imagination, you have to get that character right. And it doesn't have to be the same as we've seen it before, but it has to meet a certain level of intelligence, of charm.
Yes.
And he just feels like kind of a goon. And I don't believe that this guy has like taken the world by storm with his brilliant plays.
Yeah. And then it's
also weird that Agnes doesn't know who he is.
Right. And that's exactly where
she doesn't know what
going.
Plays are, doesn't know who he is, doesn't know what plays are.
Is that this is a family drama, right? It's not about Shakespeare's career. It's not about his work. It's a family drama, except the family barely exists. Agnes and William don't seem to know each other. I don't believe their relationship. I don't really understand why any of us are there.
It's a story about a great playwright who got a witch pregnant.
I guess so.
Yeah. I actually, probably one of the things that hurt the movie most for me was that the opening shot spoils the entire movie. Like, the existence of the movie spoils the entire movie, but then the opening shot supports that. So that opening scene, you're looking at two trees, one of which has grown straight and strong, the other of which was crooked and bent and clearly like dying. And as the camera tilts down, you see that they're both growing from the same root structure. And that's the movie. It's a movie about two twins, one of whom eventually dies and is like taken from this world, but come from the sort of same place, and these two ideas. And I was like, the filmmakers must have been so ecstatic when they found that tree, but the tree's too good. Like,
yeah, well,
the tree.
But you're right. The existence of the movie sort of spoils it, because there's no way to tell people like, oh, go see Hamnet. It's about XYZ without spoiling the entire story. But it doesn't.
It's about the death of a child.
That fact, like it is assumed. And I think it probably would have been smarter not to actually have a build up to that moment that felt like it was supposed to be a reveal.
No, I agree, because it definitely takes away the drama. I know you and I split on this. I do like the final scene of the movie that takes place on the stage, in that like, the final message of the movie to me, I know. For those of you who are just listening, Michael made the very classy jerk off symbol with his hand.
So classy.
But what I like about that move at the end of the film is that there's this sort of sense that Agnes has magic. She has some type of witchcraft and magic in connection to the earth, and that this can heal physical wounds. And that you sort of learn at the end that William Shakespeare has access to a different kind of magic, storytelling magic, and that this can potentially heal psychic wounds. And that the stage is a place in which those stories can play out and potentially heal those wounds. again, I'm not. This is my ninth level movie. Like, this is not my favorite movie, right? But I do like the concept. I like storytelling that makes an argument for the power of storytelling, and I generally will support that type of messaging.
So
because
do Oscar voters.
well, Oscar voters like movies about movie making, which is probably why getting to our other movie, Sentimental Value, is on the list.
That is probably why Sentimental Value is on the list.
I was shocked that you liked this more than I did, if only because of earlier in the season your strong distaste for Hannah and her sisters. Because the more I thought about it, I was like, wow, this is about a bunch of bourgeoisie artists who make up their own problems and then want us to feel bad about them.
You know, I mean, it's my number 9, so I did love this movie. I think that comparison is apt. I just found this set of sort of self-absorbed bourgeoisie artists less annoying.
Well, in all fairness, if you're replacing Woody Allen with Skarsgård, you're already making a fantastic decision. So, and I think Skarsgård's fantastic in it, and I will tell you that he is my pick for Best Supporting Actor this year.
I picked Skarsgård as my pick for Supporting Actor as well. That is one of the ones that is, I believe, technically an upset. I think Sean Penn is the betting favorite.
I think he's the betting favorite, but Skarsgård took it at SAG, if I'm not mistaken. And I rewatched One Battle yesterday. I saw it when it came out, and I rewatched it, and I think Sean Penn is. I really thought he was going to be the win. And after watching it this time, I actually had to give it to Skarsgård. It wasn't even just like I'm thinking that this is the way that the Academy will go. Although I do think it's the way the Academy will go, because Skarsgård doesn't have one, and that's always a major factor with older actors. Sean Penn does. He has 2.
Well, and for me, I think where I ended up with Sentimental Value slightly above Hamnet is they're both movies that I did not love that are driven by strong performance, right? I think Hamnet, Jessie Buckley's performance is very strong. I picked her for Best Actress. I think that's a runaway. I don't know that I agree with it, but I do think she's going to win, and I don't think it's a massive injustice that she will.
No, I don't think it is either. And I will tell you, after having seen I actually saw The Bride before going and seeing Hamnet, which The Bride is not a perfect movie, but The Bride is a really another like big, awesome swing from Warner Brothers. This is like I'm falling in love with Warner Brothers this year because they just keep making interesting movies and taking big swings, and it breaks my heart.
I love that a big studio does that.
Oh, it's fabulous. And the fact that they are going to be sold to the freaking lowest bidder at this point because of whatever's happening is honestly heartbreaking. And I really fear for the future of that studio. But seeing Jessie Buckley in The Bride before seeing her in Hamnet made me want to give it to her even more because of how transformative she is between these two roles. And you can just, the range between these two. And I know that's not how you win an Oscar, and that's not what it's about, but
it does validate her talent.
Oh my God. I fell in love with her as an actress. I am at the place between those two films where I'll pretty much see anything she makes.
Yeah. And so where I was going is, for me, I think Sentimental Value is similar. I think it's an okay movie driven by strong performances. There are more strong performances in Sentimental Value.
That's
true. Stellan Skarsgård is very strong. He's my prediction for supporting actor. But I really loved both, and I'm not going to get this right, but Renata Reinsve and Inga Lilias, who played his daughters.
Inga. There we go. You got to do it with the Swedish accent. If you pretend like you're the chef from the Muppets, then you can say their names right.
That's how I do it? Oh, I feel like,
you feel like you shouldn't do it that way.
Right.
No, Swedish accents and Italian accents are perfectly acceptable to mimic by white people.
I mean, don't get me started on Italians.
It's a meatball. You're allowed to say that.
Yeah. Well, I think Italians,
but I can't talk about Chinese food in that term,
are what someone who's really racist against Italians would characterize them as.
Oh, okay.
Like, their economy is not backed by gold, it's backed by Parmesan cheese.
So now we're getting into, out of our bottom. So I'll tell you, my number 7 probably right now.
8.
8 is Frankenstein.
That is my number 8 as well.
Frankenstein doesn't belong on this list, I think. I don't. This is another movie that I don't think is a Best Picture.
Frankenstein is the one that got a lot of technical awards, or not even technical, like style points.
Yeah, it got like the production design and makeup, and it's not even the straight technical side.
And so I think because it got those, a lot of Academy voters saw it And sometimes when you're nominating 10 movies, that does it. And Netflix probably has a machine behind it.
I mean, the big idea of this movie is, we're going to change the Frankenstein story to put more emphasis on maybe man doesn't need to keep reaching towards the boundaries of knowledge and ambition, which like that's always been the Frankenstein story, is that, what your reach goes further than your grasp, or your grasp outreaches your grasp. I don't know what the saying is, but you know what I mean. And then it factors in this new character, Christoph Waltz's character in here, who's dying of syphilis and wants to put his consciousness into this body. And so this is sort of your AI tech bro that's now funding your great scientist, your great mind, to push this even further than it should go. And like, that's the big idea that Guillermo del Toro brings to this movie, except it takes him nearly 3 hours to do it. And I think that this movie suffers from the exact same problem that Victor Frankenstein suffers from, which is it's more interested in creating the monster than in raising the monster. Victor's tale is kind of arresting and a fun tale. I still don't think it's the best picture tale, but I enjoy the first half of this film. The creature's tale, it's almost like the movie gets bored with itself.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say. It seems like at the same time that I got bored with the movie, the filmmakers got bored making the movie.
Precisely. Like, you go from, we talked about this having all of these artistic direction nominations, right? But then those CG wolves are the big moment in the second part. And like, who did they hire to do that? Like some Nickelodeon, like morning show artists? Like, they're terrible. Those wolves look so bad. And that whole sequence is so poorly done and poorly directed. It was very surprising.
Frankenstein, again, fine. It's not like a total failure. Does not belong on this list.
No, I watched it twice, and you know what? I even enjoyed it a little bit more the second time, knowing what I was getting myself into. I think the first time I had my hopes maybe a little too high.
And you got to see it on a big screen the second time, so those style points really did present themselves a lot better. That
was actually why I saw it the second time, because I think it looks terrible on Netflix. And this is one of the things that a lot of Netflix nominees really suffer from, is that you get like a week-long chance to go see the movie, and then you have to watch it in an ultra-compressed format on your fucking iPhone 15. So, yeah, it's this is the world that we live in, though, and Netflix is going to keep pushing. Although they were a little less represented this year than in prior years, which honestly made me kind of happy. Although I will say their live short might be the winner, though.
Oh,
their live action short.
All right, number 7. We are going to diverge.
All right, we're splitting on number 7. What's number 7?
So my number 7 is Train Dreams.
Okay. So I know you said that Train Dreams didn't do anything for you, but you're putting it above several other films, and competent films as well. So how did it land that high for you?
Yeah.
When you said it had no emotional impact. So
Train Dreams felt like kind of a slog.
Okay.
It's a little boring. Now, I will say I watched it at home, and I know that
you watched it on your iPhone, right? Like while you're in the parking lot waiting for your kids.
I watched it on a TV. It's a big TV. I think that the filmmaking is very competent. It is beautiful. It actually does look really good. I think it has, like, I've disparagingly said that it's lesser Terrence Malick, but I do think that comparison is complimentary as well.
I think this is an instance where the 4:3 decision actually serves the film. Sometimes it feels a little bit like a gimmick when filmmakers choose to shoot in 4:3.
No, but I think in this it puts you in a time and a place.
Puts you in a time and a place, and I think they do a really phenomenal job of composing the shots around a 4:3. It actually is. It is quite beautifully done, and given that when you're in, I think what I love about that decision is that you're in the forests of Idaho, of mostly northern Idaho, and I believe most of this was shot at least near location. In the Pacific Northwest, at least. The landscape doesn't go broad. It goes up. You're like, it's the trees that you're going to be seeing. It's the skylines, like, and all of that's really important. And going to a 4:3 allows you to actually capture the majesty that is that landscape in a way that I don't know that 16:9 would have done. And I actually really love that about the movie. It also makes the movie feel a bit smaller, because it's probably the smallest story of them all, which
absolutely
I admire it for as well.
And I think Joel Edgerton is quite good in it. And it's one of those movies, every once in a while, they come out, and it's I try to appreciate movies on their own terms as much as I can. This one felt like it would have made a very good art installation at a museum, but not necessarily a movie that I wanted to sit down and watch for 2 hours.
So I'll say my reaction to this film was a lot stronger than yours. The last 45 minutes I spent either crying or nearly crying. There's something about the story of somebody who lives on the periphery of society that is providing the raw material to build the world that he never gets to see, that he never gets to experience. And this is actually why I thought you would really like the movie, because you love these sort of modest, quaint tales of men who aren't heroes, the George Baileys of the world. And in a lot of ways, this character is a bit of a George Bailey in that he gives basically his entire life toward providing a very small amount of goodness to the remainder of the world and gives up so much of it. When he is in the plane at the end of the film and he gets to see just a small sliver of what his lifetime of work has helped to support and build up around him, as it's also stripped away all of the lumber of our country, and we know what that's done, and we've had to come back from that as best as we can. That scene just absolutely destroys me emotionally. There is something about a stoic man. He doesn't have to cry on screen to make me want to cry. Like watching Jessie Buckley cry for freaking 2 hours in Hamnet. Honestly, I didn't cry a single time during Hamnet.
Yeah, neither did I.
But I cried so hard during this movie, because every single time you have this just sort of moment of realization of a life that it's not even a life that he could have had. It's just a life that he has, and what it means to pass it almost completely unseen. I don't know. There is a.
You're selling me. You're selling me on this movie.
There's a deep bittersweetness, I think, to that tale that really captured me.
Yeah, I think the challenge for me, and who knows, maybe I need to rewatch this, because what you're saying, I actually have no counter argument to. I think all of that is present in the movie. By time we got to that last 45 minutes, I think I was just tired by the movie.
I mean, I can see that. The movie asks a lot of patience of you. And I think, but again, he's living a life that requires so much patience.
Yeah. And that is why it is higher than Hamnet, Sentimental Value, and Frankenstein. Like it's not a bad movie. I just didn't have that emotional connection.
Yeah. So this spot for me is actually F1, and I want to be clear, I fucking loved F1. Like this is in no way a critique of F1. This spot is being held for F1 because F1 is a paint by number sports movie that makes zero sense. Like,
nope. It does all of the like normal sports movie tropes.
Yeah,
like it's a collection of them. It's like they were checking boxes.
Yeah. It would not withstand any criticism at all from me if I started to pick apart the story, particularly like Brad Pitt's character, who makes zero sense.
Yeah, don't do that though.
No. And that's the thing, is the movie doesn't invite you to do that. Yeah. And it's a technical marvel. It is honestly, it's a logistical marvel. I watched a bit of the behind the scenes making of it and how they got into these places at these times when other F1 mechanics were working, and how incredibly difficult it was to actually have these people on camera and have these liaisons working between. Like, this movie is a miracle that it even exists. And I told you, it almost made me interested in F1 racing. Almost.
Yeah, almost.
So close.
I agree. I think this is like, in a lot of ways, sort of blockbuster filmmaking at its finest.
At its absolute finest. Yeah. Like, it is so sharp. It is so clean. And honestly, it is exhilarating.
So I don't know how much because this does obviously appear higher on my list. I don't know if I need to save some stuff for when it shows up on my list. I will say the other thing that I think is good, and I think Kosinski always does this well, or maybe not always, recently does this well, is he gets a lot of great stuff out of his ensemble.
You're saying post-Tron Legacy?
He has a pretty big cast, and I think that all of them are good and charming and pretty likable, and everyone's really good.
Everyone's firing. And everyone's doing their jobs. Watching Brad Pitt be charming.
Brad Pitt does his Brad Pitt thing. Like, I loved Carrie Condon in this movie. She was like a highlight.
She's
for
great
me.
in it.
I think she's really great.
I'd call her a highlight, except that everybody's a highlight in this movie.
Yeah.
This movie is Ted Lasso had a baby with Top Gun, and Anthony Kiedis is the coach.
Yeah, and like Rocky was standing nearby.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a super fun movie, but it places here because again, it's like from an emotional perspective, it doesn't really hit me on any level, but it is a super, super fun movie. It is well worth seeing on the big screen. I'm glad that I did. It was better than I expected it to be.
Good. I'm glad.
Yeah. And I expected it to be good, but it really was sort of like, it's one of those things where it was like perfect for what it was. It was like a lasagna. We're going to Italian food again, right? Like lasagna is not the best food in the world, but when you have like just a lasagna that was perfectly layered and everything, but it's so, you're like, oh, I still love it. Like I'm never going to turn it down, right? And that's what it was. It was a perfectly made lasagna. Okay, so that was my spot. So that, what number are we at now, Michael? You're keeping track of this, right?
So that was 7. We are on our number 6 picks.
This is where things start to like really pile up for me.
Things start to mush.
Things mush a
you're gonna
lot.
Have things
I get a lot of ties,
low, even though they're very good.
Oh no, I just have a bunch of like 3 and 4 way ties now because there are some films that I just can't pick between because I just like them all so much.
It's very tough at this point. So I'm curious how yours shook out because I agree it's very tight.
I feel like anything that I say next is going to like break my heart because I like all of the what's left on here. I love all of them.
Mm-hmm.
I love Begonia. I love One Battle. I love The Secret Agent. I love Marty Supreme. So I'm going to say Begonia. I'm going to say Begonia's my next.
Wow.
But
okay, I am not ready to say Begonia.
But I want to be clear. I'm saying Begonia is my next movie. But really, Begonia and The Secret Agent are actually tied for me. Like they really are holding like the same spot in that I loved both of these movies. They surprised me. I will say Begonia surprised me more than probably any movie on this list in that when it came out, I thought, oh, Yorgos has jumped the shark. Like he's good at making weird movies, but how do you make a movie about a guy who kidnaps a CEO and thinks she's an alien? Like that's just not a movie. Because
it sure was.
Well, and that's what's so shocking about it is that they find a way not only to make it a compelling narrative that you can't take your eyes off of, but he finds a way to tell a broader message. And I will tell you that like I got to the end of this movie and I wasn't sure even if I liked it because I was like, that feels like a really pessimistic view on the world. And you and I talked about this a little bit last week, but then I started to piece it together. I was like, well, I don't want this to be a pessimistic tale. Like, I don't think I can accept that it is. And I was like, well, then what is this movie trying to say? And I was like, this movie is about somebody whose mind has been absolutely poisoned by the internet, who like their soul has been made fertile by personal trauma and their mind has been poisoned. And that's this character of Jesse Plemons is playing in this, right? And then on the opposite side of it, you have this CEO who is almost not human. At risk, we're not going to do hardcore spoilers, so we'll say this character who is so perfectly put together, so precise, like trained and skilled and curated. Yes, that's a great word for Emma Stone's character in this, right? And they are going to be in conversation in this movie for about 90 minutes, staring at each other, screaming at each other sometimes. And is that the world that you want to live in? Because that is in some ways the world that we currently live in. That's what's happening online is that crazy people that have gone far too far down the QAnon and 4chan threads of the world are screaming at the people who are running these enormous corporations and blaming them for everything. And this is an ultimate road toward annihilation. And we have a choice. It's like, is that the world that we want to live in, or can we break free of this conversation that is effectively what I was saying I thought the movie was at the beginning, which is like pointless. Like those two people shouldn't be talking to each other. Those people shouldn't exist in this world.
Yeah.
And yet we've permitted it to happen. And when I came to that conclusion that is really what the movie's asking of you is this the world you want to live in? I fell in love with it.
It's a great movie. It is higher on my list. We'll get to it. So you had said that Begonia and Secret Agent were very, very close for you. Mine, they're my tied, number 6 really. Spot does go to The Secret Agent.
Okay, so let's go into The Secret Agent then, because I'm so interested in your take on this movie.
So this is a very good movie. It's like I think from just a storytelling perspective, I think it delivers information very deliberately. It gives some movies are very annoying when they slowly trickle information. This one gives you enough to like satisfy as you go, but there's always a little more. There's always things you don't know. It plays like a mystery, even though the mystery isn't really that important. And then you just have this character played by Wagner Moura.
Wagner Moura, yeah.
Yeah. Who is just so tragic and flawed but sympathetic. I really like this movie.
That mentioning of the way they trickle out the information in this movie, normally I don't like movies that are effectively a flashback. I find that trope to actually be really distracting. I don't always understand the point of it. In this particular movie, I actually felt like, again, it served the film so well. Because you have these two girls that are doing research in a library for a university that are trying to understand his story, and the movie trickles out this information. What you realize is in the way that they are uncovering the information, and the gaps in information are the gaps in information that you would have if you're doing this type of research, because they can't find what happened between this moment and this moment. They don't know what happened. They have to kind of fill in some of the gaps, and they're doing the best that they can to understand what happened to this character of Armando / Marcelo. And the movie, it just does a remarkable job of showing that, like, during a revolution, and we're going to get into our revolution movies now, because like this is, as we get close to the top of the list, like so much of this is about like fighting government power and authoritarianism and what it does to the small parts of our lives and the battle that continues going on. But that you see that he didn't even begin as a revolutionary. Like, they turn him into one, and they start to understand that he's just someone who was a researcher who cared about moving Brazil forward, but he wasn't moving it forward in the way that those in power wanted him to. And so they get to see through newspaper clippings, through recordings, his attempt at escaping. Again, we're trying not to do any spoilers here. His attempt at escaping sort of the powers that be and being able to get his life back and being able to continue it. And it's so wonderfully told, and it's tense, but it's funny. And this is a movie too where I think this is worth bringing up. I think this one is on the casting list nominations, is it not? The casting, yes, it is.
It is.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm glad. I'm not mistaken. And this is the other thing I want to start talking about too, is that this is a movie that is so textured and feels like you are in Brazil in 1977. One of my favorite things that movies do for us is they take us to a time and a place that you can't be. They transport you into a world. And this is taking us to 1977 Brazil during this time in which there is so much corruption. There's so much authoritarianism. And it does it with this incredible cast of some actors, some non-actors, where they're just pulling in Brazil into this movie and asking, like, can you be in this scene? Can you be this person? Can you react in this way? And everyone in this feels so real. And Wagner Moura is doing this phenomenal job leading this movie. I was just honestly blown away at how good this movie was. Even though I'd heard that it was very good, it still surprised me.
Yeah, it's great. And I love that, it has something interesting to say about how truth can survive, right? Because the story of the character is changed. It's bastardized in history by this authoritarian regime. They paper over his life with a series of lies, and yet the truth still exists in this archival material that these students years and years later, decades later, are able to uncover if they just kind of look hard enough. And I really love that element of the movie.
Yeah. Great movie. I think, we haven't actually done ratings, but like this was such a, like, I remember looking at Rosie at the end of this movie, being like, that's a buy it, right? And she was like, that's a buy it.
Yeah, we're kind of in that territory now.
Yeah, we definitely are. Okay, so what's your next movie up on the list then?
Okay, so my next movie is F1.
Oh, is F1?
So
okay.
this is where F1 falls.
Okay.
And
you loved F1 this summer. You were trying to get me to see it all summer, and I just didn't.
Loved F1. It really is. I already said it's the perfect blockbuster. And I will say, I am absolutely this movie's target audience.
You are 100% this movie.
Right?
Yeah, because you already were
obsessed with the sport of Formula One. And so then you just make a fun Joseph Kosinski, like action blockbuster. It's Top Gun with race cars. Like, hell yeah.
Honestly, Apple just needs to,
I devoured every second of this
Apple
movie.
just needs to unleash him on MLS, and then they've got a hit. So and then all of the sports that they have purchased in the last few years will finally be successful, because like I think F1 viewership has gone up because of this movie in the United States.
It has. So it went from being on ESPN, which is in like most households, to Apple TV, and the opening race of the season that just happened last weekend had better ratings than it did when it was on ESPN and more accessible. So,
well, yeah, you put Brad Pitt in a movie about it and let Kaczynski direct it. And it makes sense. And then make it a freaking Jerry Bruckheimer, of course.
Right. And like,
that was the most Bruckheimer-y movie I've seen. And so I felt like I had been.
The soundtrack is great. Like, it's just so
man,
fun.
the needle drops in that movie. That was a movie where I was like legitimately banging my head, like in the theater. I was like, yeah, I feel this.
It's so good, so fun.
I'll watch it.
And this is maybe the only movie on this list, and this is not necessarily a way to measure greatness, but it's the only movie on the list that I would recommend to absolutely anyone.
I think Sinners.
Sinners is close. Yeah.
Sinners isn't everyone. You know, it's interesting. I was listening to Unspooled earlier. They're doing their Oscar, and they were talking about movies and film, and how there are so many movies on here that are both movies and film. Like that they actually accomplish both tasks, and it's really wonderful. F1 is not film.
F1's
is movie. F1's a movie. F1 is a movie. Yeah. And you know what? It's a really, really fun movie, and I like it. So I respect it. I'm not mad about it holding that high of a place on your list. Yeah. The only reason it doesn't for me, like I said, is there just were too many other good
There's a lot of good stuff out here.
On here for me. So yeah.
Movie films.
All right. So what comes after F1 for you?
5. Yeah. So now we're at 4. So you got 4 movies left?
I think I have, what do I have? I've got Marty Supreme left. I've got One Battle, and I've got Sinners, right? What else do I have left?
I don't think
I don't have
ranked Train Dreams yet.
Oh shit, did I thought I ranked it.
We talked about it, but you haven't ranked it.
Sorry, Train Dreams is behind Begonia and Secret Agent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think I failed to rank it. Yeah. I was like, I thought I had.
Oh, okay. Okay, so we're
now I'm in
similar.
One Battle, Marty Supreme, and Sinners.
Perfect. All right.
That's what I've got. That's what I've got left.
I owe you my number 4.
Yes.
Which is Sinners.
Wow, Sinners at 4.
Sinners is at 4.
Okay, talk me through that.
I mean, this is where the ranking becomes meaningless, because it ultimately was just me sort of force ranking and putting some stuff above it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a ton of criticism for Sinners.
I have one criticism.
I have
Sinners,
one.
Yeah.
It's the ending.
It's the ending. That fucking ending. Why did Coogler tack that on?
I think why it ended up as low as it is, despite me very much loving this movie.
Such a wonderful movie that leaves me with just this little sour taste in my mouth with that ending. I don't understand it was such an unnecessary. I know. Like, that movie ends perfectly, and then it's like
just flop of an ending. But that's not why we're here.
And then it's like, P.S.
Why we're here is because Sinners is like a mood the entire time. Like, it just like brings you in, tells you how you're gonna feel, and then you go on this ride. It has an amazing cast. It is stylistically wonderful. The music is great. There are a couple of scenes that really stand out. There's this like dream sequence kind of in the middle of the movie that is just otherworldly.
You know, tonight we're getting that in the live performance, right?
No. Oh, really?
Yeah.
When they do the song?
That's one of the we're gonna get Golden, and we're gonna get I Lied to You, and they're gonna do the full set at the
that's gonna be,
I can't wait for it.
So awesome.
Yeah.
And then you have Michael B. Jordan, who is nominated and might even win Best Actor, playing 2 roles.
He's my pick.
Twins, but they are individual characters, and they very much feel like individual characters. It doesn't seem as gimmicky as it could seem.
It's not even just that they're individual characters. What makes this such a work of art, such a magic trick, because there are plenty of times in which we've seen an actor play 2 roles in a movie and even play them with each other. I think kind of overlooked, but Alien Covenant, we see Fassbender do this with his 2 Michaels. And honestly, it is glorious in that. I actually think it's one of the most amazing examples of that ever done before Sinners. What Sinners does and what Michael B. Jordan does, and the reason why I think he will win, is it's not just that they are so individual, it's that they are so intertwined. the way they interact with each other. He is interacting with himself. These two characters play off of each other in a way that completely cements the magic. So often you rely on the technical, wizardry to make this work between your cinematographer working with your visual effects department to make sure that this looks good. We just did our Ghost episode, which will come out in a little while, but we were like, that doesn't work when we have Patrick Swayze on screen twice. It's too obvious. And they master the technical side of it in this, but Michael B. Jordan is that last 2% that movies never get. You just never get that last 2%, and you always feel that something is amiss with these two people on screen, and it is so natural and it is so beautifully done. After rewatching it the other night, I was just like, no, he has to win. Like you can't interacting in that way with someone who isn't there is already difficult, but then to do it with yourself on both sides is, I don't know. I don't think it's been done before.
Yeah. And then, it's a horror movie. You know how I feel about those.
I do. What's funny
it's kind of a horror movie.
People keep calling it a horror movie because it has vampires in it.
Horror adjacent.
I don't know that it is. I don't know that I'm willing to give it like the horror tag. In that it doesn't
feels kind of like one, in that it exists on a plane that's like not quite the reality we're familiar with.
It has characters that occupy horror movies, but it doesn't, like, I think
it's not scary.
No, like you and I have talked about Titanic, I think is a horror movie. Like the water is the monster. Right. And there are shots and sequences that make you feel the terror of the water. I think that even the first time I watched Sinners, I don't think I ever felt a true terror and horror of the vampires. One of the things I love about the movie is that it takes vampires and it makes them into a solid option.
Yeah, I mean the vampires are a threat because the characters who happen to be vampires are threatening.
Yeah,
but it's not their vampirism, which I think is also an interesting choice. It speaks to the movie's goodness.
Absolutely, but yeah, it's people keep talking about it as a horror movie, and I don't. This is not a criticism movie, but I don't think it's a horror movie. I think it is a musical and a period piece.
But it's a genre flick.
It's 100% a genre flick. It's a fantasy, and it's a period piece. It is doing so many things.
I'm a sucker for a good period piece too.
Oh, and we've got plenty of period pieces that are really wonderful in this movie or in this lineup.
Most of them.
I was going to say almost exclusively. In fact, One Battle is not. F1 is not. Sentimental Value is not.
Begonia is not.
I mean, Begonia. Weirdly, I was like, Begonia.
That's supposed to take place.
Yeah, I was like, I actually don't know.
Yeah. So yeah, Sinners, my number 4.
All right. So now we're both in our threes. So this is where this has been a big shakeup for me because you
fucking do it.
I'm going to. You know how I felt about this movie when I came out of it.
Oh my God, I hate you.
But I'm moving Marty Supreme into my 3.
I'm
moving Marty Supreme into my 3, and it is legitimately no fault of Marty Supreme. Marty Supreme is so fucking good.
It's so good.
I love this movie. It's gonna get snubbed like crazy tonight. It's gonna win nothing.
Yep.
It's gonna get crushed, and it's not even because of Timothée Chalamet shitting on ballet and opera this year, because that was after the voting had finished. But it was fine. There was already so much bad press about the movie, and people were reacting to this movie in a way that I didn't fully comprehend, and I'm actually still struggling to understand.
Yeah, because what's tough, I love Marty Supreme.
I love Marty
shows
Supreme.
Up later on my list, much later.
Yeah.
Is that the things that people react negatively to about Marty Supreme are the point of Marty Supreme.
Well, and that's tough.
And I think that makes it really difficult, because if you're going to react badly, then you're going to react very badly to the movie and everything the movie is and says. But then, like, I'm sitting here, it's like, oh my God, you're missing the point. What's wrong with you? But I also can see where the movie would be polarizing.
I mean, Marty Supreme does so many things I love that movies do.
Mm-hmm.
Again, takes you to a time and a place. And this time and place this is something that Safdie does better than any other director. is that he takes you to a place that is so textured
and
and
this
so
is
real. And it is a place not only that you couldn't go without him, but you didn't know existed without him. Like, Safdie shines a light on the corners of our culture and of our world that other directors aren't even looking at right now. And I love that his voice is out there and that he's in this mix.
And because they're so textured and he packs them with all of these really interesting characters that are like wildly unique and like somehow like out of this world without being cartoonish, like you still believe that they can exist, that you have this world that feels like it would be so inaccessible to you. It's a place you would never go, but you know that you are coexisting with.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a fascinating thing for him to accomplish as he's making these movies.
So you say that he has these almost cartoonish characters that feel like they're out of this world, but they're real. But it's because they always have very grounded motivations. Like everybody has very strong economic motivations, have very strong ambitious motivations. And you can understand why they would function the way they're functioning in the world like this.
And then you take this movie and you layer in, or not layer in, it is the movie. You have Timothée Chalamet's performance as Marty, and he's just a bulldozer. And his performance and the power that he brings to the performance and the character is the power that character possesses. And it's just amazing. Like I was looking at my list here and I'm realizing that I give a lot of points to energy in movies.
Yeah, you often do, in fact, and I don't think that's wrong to do. The energy of a film is what carries you through to the end of it.
You could power a metropolitan area with the energy of Timothée Chalamet's Marty Supreme, with his ambition, with he is unstoppable inertia, and for better and often much worse.
I mean, what separates Marty Supreme from Uncut Gems for me is that Howard Ratner in Uncut Gems has the world crumbling beneath him, and you're just waiting for him to fall into this gaping hole that he has created. Whereas Marty Supreme is so light on his feet and so ambitious that you can see the world crumbling behind him as he rushes forward, leaving a path of destruction in his wake.
Absolutely.
But you never actually fear that it will ever catch him because he's just too fast. He's too ambitious. He's too smart. He's too confident.
He's too supreme.
He is much too supreme. So again, putting this in third feels, it almost feels false because of how much I genuinely...
You're the sinner.
Because of how much I genuinely love this movie. But it actually came down to two things for me with Sinners and One Battle After Another that I realized that both movies, so obviously occupying my top two spots, both movies and specifically both directors do in these movies that is so similar and that is so difficult. Both movies to me feel like an orchestra in which the director is managing the string section, managing the woodwinds. And you can feel that there are just these different segments of these movies that have to be managed so differently, and they're managed so perfectly. So I'll start with One Battle After Another and talk about how he is creating a world. Paul Thomas Anderson is creating a world in which you are thrust into revolutionaries that are fighting against immigration police. And it is textured and it is real. And you feel as though you are there in this world and almost a bit of an outsider with Leonardo DiCaprio's character in that you're like, he doesn't belong here, but he's in it and it feels real. You're also with militarized police being run by Colonel Lockjaw, and it is real and it is strict and it is a completely different energy. It's a completely different tone. And he's able to do both so well. And then you also have the Christmas Adventurers Club of these wealthy white supremacists who wield enormous power, and it is real and it feels of a completely different energy. And all of these worlds don't blend with each other, but in the movie, they're constantly colliding with each other. And the only way to do this is to have a master controlling all of these various segments. And in Sinners, Coogler is doing something very similar in that you have the world of vampires, you have the music that he's conducting literally within the movie because the movie is so musically driven, and then you have these gangsters, this really strong these strong central characters who are connected to this like deep Black heritage and Black culture in there. And again, all three sections are just humming as a melody. And this is why Marty Supreme can't be the best movie, is because Safdie's not doing that. Like, he's not doing that thing that is just like, they've set themselves up for the hardest thing to do, and then they did it perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
That's how Marty Supreme found itself in third for me, despite my love for it.
So we've kind of touched on all the movies. So from a ranking perspective, I put One Battle at 3.
Okay.
And I feel similar to putting it at 3 as you do putting Marty at 3, because everything you said is true, right? It has so many moving parts, and each of those moving parts feels like its own thing. There's sort of these like movies within a movie that like could sustain their own films, and then they all sort of come together in this way that's kind of miraculous.
You also have
driven by really strong performances.
And you have the 3 incredible set pieces in One Battle as well that are all beautifully and expertly done.
Yeah, there's real technical accomplishment there. So agree with everything you've said about One Battle. This is where it gets weird. Begonia is my number 2.
That's not weird. You're a Yorgos stan through and through. And
yeah, we talked about Begonia before. I love Yorgos Lanthimos' sensibilities. I love his partnership with Emma Stone. The mood of everything he does is just something that I really love. I really enjoy spending time in the worlds that he creates. And the thing that I really like about Begonia, and you touched on this, is when I first finished this movie, I was like, oh my God, that's the most like nihilistic thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, this is so just cynical and angry.
So Fincher.
And just giving up on the world.
So Fincher-esque.
A little bit. And then you reflect on it and it's like, no, this is actually this cautionary tale. It's telling you don't be this, or that this is the result of maybe where we're heading or where our culture feels like it's heading, and we can change that. And it does so through these like very extreme examples. And then like Emma Stone's just fantastic. Plemons is fantastic. There's a twist to Plemons' character that I really didn't see coming that just makes the whole movie just a little more creepy, a little weirder, a little more interesting. I absolutely adore Begonia.
Begonia is a superb film. I agree with everything you say about it. Like, I don't think we're going to say anything wrong about any of these movies to this point. Like, these rankings, they're so arbitrary. There's a point at which when you have this many good movies in a single year, and not just good. I think something that's really wonderful about a lot of them is good and successful movies in a single year that like you can't help but celebrate it. And so, yeah, this is definitely not, I don't think either of us are putting these movies down. We are celebrating the hell out of these movies.
And then my favorite movie of the year is Marty Supreme for the reasons we have stated. Chalamet is my performance of the year. And again, I agree with absolutely everything you said about Michael B. Jordan, but Marty Supreme couldn't exist without what Chalamet brought to that character and that specific performance. And if it's my favorite movie and it couldn't exist without that performance, it's got to be my favorite performance. That's just math.
This was my argument for Anora last year, and I was pleasantly surprised. I don't think I'll get to be as happy this year. My number 1 is One Battle. Sinners is my number 2. And it really came after a rewatch of One Battle last night in theaters. And I will admit, One Battle, probably coming into this Oscar week, was hovering around my number 3, behind Sinners, behind Marty. And the rewatch, as is often the case with PTA movies for me, is
always the case.
It almost always, like, somehow there's something in the movie that when you know just a little bit more about it, that suddenly it comes together. I remember distinctly walking out of There Will Be Blood in 2007 and going, I did not like that movie. And spending about a year just being like, that wasn't that, like, Daniel Day-Lewis is undeniable in it. I loved it. Like, I loved his performance, but I did not like that movie. And coming back to it a year later and rewatching it and going, oh shit, that might be my top 10 movies of all time. And like,
There Will Be Blood is the best movie of the decade that it came out in, and is probably a top 10 of all time, in my opinion.
It's tough because you also have Children of Men and No Country both in the exact same year. That year was fucked. That year was nuts. But so I think that is an awesome rating. What we're going to do is you and I are going to submit our ballots, like we'll lock them in before the Oscars.
Mhm.
I may make a couple of adjustments in some of the sections, depending. I still want to check some stuff on the documentaries because I saw none of them, but I pretty much saw everything else. I watched Blue Moon last night, by the way.
Yeah,
I just
for a
had to get
minute,
one more.
Ethan Hawke was the one that they thought was the sleeper for Best Actor. It seems like that has dropped off.
It does seem like that's dropped off, which I will say after watching it, unfortunate. Blue Moon is one of those movies that I actually really have a soft spot in my heart for. It's why I wanted to watch it last night before we hopped on. It is a movie that takes place in one room in one night with, 4 or 5 great actors all just fucking humming at the best of their game with pithy dialogue and great music in a period piece. And it was just...
They're hard to do, but when they hit it right, those are great movies.
I can't recommend it enough. It's a great movie. Really, really. I was surprised that Blue Moon didn't get more love. And honestly, that Nouvell Vague didn't get anything. Linklater put out 2 really good movies in 1 year. And Nouvell Vague got completely overlooked.
Yeah.
I was sad about that. I was sad that Eddington got completely shut out. I think that was a huge mistake. I think people did not understand Eddington. I'm surprised that people understood Begonia and didn't understand Eddington because they are cut from a similar cloth.
It's flashier.
Yeah. But there are a couple movies that I do think were misses. One thing I want to talk about before we wrap up our little pre-Oscar party, though, is casting.
Yeah.
Because this is the big new section. And I really am interested to see what happens because we have some more traditional casting happening and we have some of that more like Safdie-esque, like gritty, edgier casting.
I love that because I think you have 2 obvious nominations in Sinners and One Battle After Another. And then you have 2 really interesting nominations in Marty Supreme and The Secret Agent.
I'm surprised that you pair them up
one
like that.
I don't understand at all, which is Hamnet.
I don't understand Hamnet unless you really think that little boy was...
You cast one person in that movie. You cast a second that I found annoying, and you cast some kids that did kids. Like, that's not even an ensemble movie.
I actually think the kid was miscast. I think he was a good actor, but he was too cherubic. He was too toe-headed.
Thank you. Okay, I didn't know how to say that without sounding like a complete asshole. But
did I nail it? Did I not sound like an asshole?
It's the cherubic. Like, he didn't seem like he belonged in that time or place.
No.
Like,
and you can't make him look perfectly like a twin to the other child, but they have to look like they're part of the same family.
They have to look like the same part. And I think that the movie tries to do this thing with that character in that, like, you have the twins and one of them is perceived as the weak one, but it's the strong one that ends up dying, and like make him seem stronger, make him more of like a rough and tumble boy to her like fragile girl. Like, I don't know. It just didn't work for me.
No, it didn't for me either. But I you paired them interestingly though, because I really see One Battle and Marty and The Secret Agent as sort of being like one type of casting, which is this new grittier, edgier, where we're going to mix actors with people, and we're going to try to create this whole world and create this whole like 3-dimensional layered space, and that it almost feels documentarian. Whereas Sinners is a lot of really great actors. In fact, Miles Caton.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how to pronounce it? Okay. He's the only one without any like acting credit that comes into this movie, but he's still a performer. And we know that about him, and fucking incredible. I can't wait to see him do I Lied to You Tonight. And so I'm interested to see how the Academy goes with this, because this sort of casting real people in movies is becoming a bit more of a trend that filmmakers are starting to jump onto, but there's some risk associated with it. There was a little bit of rumor coming out of one of the Safdie productions. I don't remember, was it Good Times? Do you know about this story?
No.
So he'd cast somebody who was like a former heroin addict, and apparently the guy like flashed one of the actresses that was there, and then they came and told him about it. It's all of this like bad press that they're trying to put out against Marty Supreme, but it does sort of raise the point that like there's some risk associated with doing this. I know that on Marty Supreme at one point, Timothée Chalamet was like shouting in character at one of the guys, and the guy was like, "You said it to me again, and I'll cut you." And Timothée Chalamet was like, "Oh, hey, we're at work. Like, this is a job we do where we shout at each other because we're acting. We are play actors." And so there is risk associated with it. And so I don't know. Like, it's really interesting whether they're going to go like full, like, because I see them almost as like degrees, where Marty Supreme is doing it the absolute most, like saying that we're going to pull in tons of non-actors and surrounded professional actors with it.
Got the Shark Tank guy.
Oh my gosh, Kevin! I mean, hey, we want you to play an asshole because we think you're an asshole, and he said yes,
and did so good.
He did. But one battle, you know, like the interrogator, right? He was an extra on there, and the more they got to know about him and saw him doing it, they were like, "Let's pull you in now and give you these scenes." And he's, I mean, he's perfect. He's literally perfect in those scenes.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'm really curious. Like, obviously, one Oscars will not set the trend for the next 10 years, but it will start to give us a sense of which way the Academy is going to start leaning when it comes to what great casting is. But I will tell you, like, casting is definitely an area that I've gotten more interested in as like these movies have come out, because I never really thought that much about casting. It's like, you know, it's who you know, and you get people into your movie as best you can. But there's so much more to it. And I like that it's being given. I like that light is being shown on it.
Well, I look forward to seeing your ballot, and I look forward even more to our recap, because I'm hoping there's at least a couple surprises in there that we can talk about at the end, and maybe it'll be a good show. We'll have Conan.
I'll tell you, whether it's Sinners or One Battle, I am ready with either a small beer or an Irish beer. So
fantastic.
I'm here to celebrate
either way.
There will be.
All right, Ian, we will chat soon enough.
All right. See you in a few hours. Welcome back to the Screen Hoppers. It is post-Oscars. Conan killed it as always. Michael, reflections.
I wish there was more Conan.
My number one criticism was like, why am I looking at Jimmy Kimmel when I could have more Conan?
I know. I thought we were through with Kimmel at the Oscars, and then they forced us to have some Kimmel at the Oscars. It was rude.
I know, they ponied him back out in front of us, and we're like, he's fine, I suppose. But Conan's opening number, that might be my favorite. I didn't think he could one up the substance, but putting him in that Gladys makeup was superb.
It was great, and the whole like sequence was really well produced and put together. Like it was fun, a lot of fun.
It really was. Yeah, I didn't know what his way in was going to be, and now looking back on it, it's obvious what his way in was going to be.
Yeah, duh. That was but it was great. He makes pale witch. a better than serviceable Gladys, that's for sure.
Yeah. Any big surprises tonight?
You know, in retrospect, I don't think they're huge surprises. I think, you know, there was a question of momentum and whether or not Sinners was going to be the big win, but all award season, one battle after another, was kind of the favorite, and that played out. I would say I was surprised that Sinners won cinematography. That one I was surprised by.
They did a really incredible job on her behalf. Honestly, I did not vote for it, but I was not surprised to see it, because there were so many little behind the scenes that they really focused on the work that she had done as a cinematographer, and that she was the first woman to be, you know, nominated and that could potentially win in this very, very male dominated and very competitive field.
Well, yeah, I didn't look it up, but I assumed she was the first woman to win the award, and so that I think just goes to show how male dominated that field is.
Yes, and always has been, and so I wasn't super shocked, but I'm there with you. I really thought One Battle was going to take that one.
And then the other one that was kind of a surprise, I don't know how much of a surprise because we had nothing to work with, was the new casting award. You know, you, me, and then Rosie came in. We all had different picks, and we were all wrong.
I actually think that for casting, the Academy went with weirdly the safe decision. So it was
a compromise decision in a lot of ways.
Yeah, because there really was a spectrum of decisions, from the most extreme of how Marty Supreme casts to maybe the more classic casting of something like Hamnet or Sinners. Sinners taking a little bit more risk, but generally working within the field. And One Battle sort of met in the middle, where it had a lot of actors, but then they were able to pull from their extras.
Yeah, because you had everyone from Leonardo DiCaprio to Jungle Pussy.
Yeah, precisely. And you had that. But you also have the guy who plays the interrogator in the movie, he's not a professional actor. He was an extra on the movie. They identified that he had this skill. They knew sort of a bit about his background, and he came in and added this tenor and tone to the film during the interrogation scenes that is surprising and interesting, and not the way you're used to seeing an interrogation scene go. And it's because they put the right person in that role.
Yeah. So didn't predict it, not mad about it by any stretch.
No, I would say weirdly, probably the only one I am actively mad about was the short animated. I really thought that was my least favorite animated short of them all. I thought it was kind of ugly. The story at the end of the day was about how a story imbues value onto something without it having any actual value, which to me was like, sure, you can map that onto film, but the reality is it's about a character who's selling things. And so for me, it was like the power of marketing. And that seemed like a weird way for the Academy to go, especially when they had Papillon, which was a really beautiful oil painting animated about the story of, you know, a North African Jew who went through the Holocaust. Like that felt like probably the way to go.
Slightly more poignant.
And then you also had the really easy pick of Forever Green, which is a pretty, like, you know, easy to digest story in which Yogi Bear meets the Giving Tree. And I actually thought that one would win because last year they went with or was it the year before last? So they went with a really easy animated pick that had the really sappy message at the end that was easy to digest. So
they often do.
And that tends to be the case.
Pixar sort of gets these a lot for that exact thing.
Yeah, and Forever Green was a lesser Pixar, really, that was done in stop motion by a vaguely Christian crew, which I thought maybe they would give a little nod to the right with that as well. But no,
Hollywood's not interested in that.
Well, apparently not. So yeah, I think that one probably was a little bit of an upset, but I'm not that attached to that. And I legitimately do not think Sentimental Value deserved the international feature win. That shocked the hell out of me. That really did.
It didn't shock me because if you look at all of the other things Sentimental Value was nominated for, I mean, Sentimental Value got a Best Director nomination.
It did.
And so now you do have the situation where like Pan's Labyrinth had a Best Picture nomination and none of the other international films did that year, and Pan's Labyrinth, I believe, didn't win, or maybe I'm mixing that up with another movie.
I don't know. Yeah, check your history on that one. I'm not sure.
But I know there have been movies before where that didn't hold. But Sentimental Value, it had 3 acting nominations. It had a directing nomination, had a screenplay nomination. It was nominated like one of the sort of mainstream big movies. And so that's kind of why I predicted it. Though I agree with you, The Secret Agent is a far, far better movie.
And I think it's a far more important movie. As the Oscars were going on, I messaged this to you. I was like, to me, some of this is about putting films in front of people, especially when it comes to international features with a group of people in the United States who are not bilingual and refuse to sit down in front of a film in which they might have to read. And the rare instance when a film wins an Oscar that is in another language that does have subtitles, it will drive a little more audience to it. And for me, the message in The Secret Agent is a far more urgent, far more pressing message for Americans to be like engaging in and looking at what happens when you sort of cede power to goons, which is really what the film is about, and looking at the history of a country that gave over power to incompetent goons, which is actually one of my favorite things about The Secret Agent, is that you have so many people that are committing heinous acts of violence and thuggery, for lack of a better word, and they're morons. Like, they're jerks and they're morons, and they get all of their wires crossed. They accidentally kill the wrong people because they're just genuinely henchmen that are trying to run the country. And I love the movie for that reason. And so I hope people still watch it. It's streaming on Hulu. If you're watching this and you generally do not like to watch movies with subtitles, I think The Secret Agent is worth a watch. And I will also say The Secret Agent, for my money, had the best opening scene of any of the nominees.
Oh, it's so good. And I would say also, The Secret Agent is a relatively easy watch. I know
it's a thriller.
Yeah, for a lot of people, and I think it's fair, right? When you add subtitles, you are adding a little bit of a layer of work to a movie. And I know that that's why some people avoid it. And then foreign movies are often paced differently than what an American audience is accustomed to. Mm-hmm. But I think that The Secret Agent plays very audience friendly. It's audience friendly.
And it has great set pieces. And it's all built up around the time that Jaws has come out in Brazil, which I really love about it too, because it gives us this great connection to American cinema and the role that Jaws is playing in Brazil at that time.
Yeah. So, I would say that one, not a surprise to me, but upsetting for other reasons.
But yeah, I don't think I was really surprised by anything else. It became pretty clear that One Battle was going to take Best Picture after editing.
Yeah.
So we were wrong on Sinners, but I would have. I mean, literally, my son leaned over and he's like, "Do you think they'll have another tie?"
Yeah, I mean,
I was like, for Best Picture,
it was a bit of a crapshoot, I think, on whether or not Sinners or One Battle After Another were going to take the top prize, because you sort of had, like I said before, this sort of movie that had been the favorite the whole time, and then the other movie that had been building momentum throughout award season. And maybe if the Oscars were a little later, it would have gone a different way. But I'm certainly not upset to see One Battle After Another win. And I'm definitely not upset that Paul Thomas Anderson is now the owner of 3 Oscar statuettes.
I am really happy for him. And in honor, we have decided to crack a few small beers. So, Michael, cheers.
Cheers to you, Ian. And cheers to Paul Thomas Anderson.
Awesome. It definitely bubbled over the top onto my shirt. And cheers to Benicio del Toro. Just the fucking man.
Yeah.
Oh,
he's fun.
He is the best. And I am so grateful that we have him in film. I will never forget the first time I saw him in Snatch as Freddy Four Fingers. And the greatest sin that movie commits is not using him more.
Yeah. I mean, he's always a lot of fun. He does a lot of, he has a diverse filmography and slate of roles.
So you won. Congratulations. That's the other cheers.
Won,
you.
Yes.
You beat me.
So,
you beat me by one.
I beat you by one.
You always do. You always do.
And so I get to pick any movie from any year for us to do an episode around. And so I think predictably, I'm going to go with my favorite movie of all time, since I am not constrained by the calendar. And we're going to watch The Wizard of Oz.
I can't believe you're taking us to a movie, again, that you've already seen. I thought you wanted to see new movies.
I know, but if I don't take this opportunity, we'll never get to talk about The Wizard of Oz.
All right, well, you better bring your A game on The Wizard of Oz, because the reality is, I respect The Wizard of Oz. I do not love The Wizard of Oz.
I know, and that's why I want to have the conversation.
You think you can get me there?
No, not necessarily, but
my goal is always to get you there when I like a movie
because if
more.
the movie is precious to me, I'm actually more interested in my love for the movie being challenged.
I don't know that I'm going to challenge it. I understand and respect people's love for that movie. It just has never hit me on the level. It doesn't transport me in the way that I think it does for others.
I also, part of it was, I did look at 1939, and there are interesting things that we can pick from there.
Yeah, it's a year. So the way we're going to do this episode is going to get recorded in the next couple of weeks. It will probably come out in April or May, but we'll do a one-off episode. We'll announce it before it actually comes out. But on that episode, we will not be traveling to the weekend of one of the top blockbusters since 1975. We will instead be traveling to 1939 to watch The Wizard of Oz, Michael's choice, and Michael's favorite film of all time?
I think it is. Yeah.
Favorite film of all time?
I mean, it's the VHS that my parents had to buy multiple copies of because I wore it out.
And then I will be selecting another film from 1939, any film that I like, because there really weren't box office weekends back in those days, because that was all pre-Maxine. And so, although I guess this comes out before we get into Maxine. But anyway, we'll talk about Maxine later. But when the Cineplexes opened, and suddenly they were opening weekends. And so I will pick another movie from 1939. That will all be announced before that episode comes out. And that will be a special episode. Congratulations, Michael, on beating me again.
Thank you. Yes. What was the one that did it? If we were going to pick one, I guess it would have been international feature.
It probably would have been international feature. Visual effects definitely hurt me. I can't believe they wanted to give Weta another fucking Academy Award for iterating. Here's the thing: Fire and Ash looks amazing. It's the best looking of the Avatar movies. It's phenomenal. It's not that they don't deserve it. But F1 was doing such a great job of actually integrating this digital world into a very real, world.
It's funny, they called it out as they were presenting the award that sometimes the best visual effects are the ones that you don't notice, which I think is what
that's actually
F1
what hurt
accomplished.
F1 the most, is because people didn't realize how much was happening.
But best visual effects so often goes to most visual effects. And Avatar is going to win that every time.
Yeah, it'll always have most, but there is a lot in F1, and I really think that I think that was a miss on the Academy's part.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it a little bit earlier. I think F1, there's a very good case to make for F1 winning film editing too, for similar reasons.
Oh, yeah, I know.
But I think that was one battle's, that was going to go to, I think, the Best Picture favorite. As the night shook out, that seemed obvious.
Yeah. Well, and that was, you did end up giving F1 editing, right?
I did. It almost lost me the contest.
Lost you the contest when you switched, because I stuck with one battle, despite us both agreeing that F1 is a worthy contender that probably would not be truly considered.
All right. So before we wrap up, any highlights or lowlights of the Oscar show for you?
Yeah, I will actually say low light for me. We'll start there and then I'll go to the high. That way we can end on a positive note. I love the Bridesmaid ladies. I love Ellie Kemper. I love Kristen Wiig. I love Maya Rudolph. I love Melissa McCarthy. I adore Rose Byrne.
Oh, this podcast in some places has become like a Rose Byrne fan podcast.
Like Love Fest.
Yeah.
And despite all of that, I really think they did a disservice to the sound people when they went up there like, when my movie's on mute, I can't understand it. That's why sound is so important. I saw this really great think piece last year on why Ben Stiller's presentation of production design was so powerful, because it was funny, but it actually gave light to what people in production design do through the joke. That didn't diminish it, but actually educated the public on this is what's happening behind the scenes and why this is so important to the films that you love. And I think that the joke that the Bridesmaid ladies did actually diminished what sound does to make a film wonderful, and made light of something that is actually as important as cinematography, that people really love the way a movie looks. The way that movie sound washes over you, sets the tone, brings you to that space. And I was very disappointed in their presentation of that. So that was my low light. Honestly, highlight, I mean, I hate to say it, but the In Memoriam was beautiful. For the Reiners, for Catherine O'Hara, for Diane Keaton, I wept. I just cried about that.
Yeah.
Robert Redford, seeing Barbara Streisand out there, and to see her perform and sing in that space for someone with whom she shared so much of her career over such a long period of time, and to honor him. And yeah, she may not be at her best, but to have a live performance from a legend, I think that was just. I think it was beautiful, and I love that they dedicated the time that they did to it. I love that they dedicated as much time as they did to lesser-known filmmakers who also passed this year.
I agree. The In Memoriam segment was the best Oscars In Memoriam segment that I can remember. It felt very personal. Rob Reiner tribute was really spectacular. That moment where, what was it, like 20 people who had been in his movies sort of came onto the stage to honor him was really, really well done. That was a highlight of the show, just in terms of, if the show is supposed to be a love fest for movies and movie making, I think that was one of the more poignant moments in doing that. There were a few speeches that I loved. I really loved Amy Madigan's speech. I thought that was just fun.
It was very
someone
real.
Who was like happy to be there. Like, it wasn't too self-important. Like, you could just tell she was excited. I thought Ryan Coogler's screenwriting speech was really wonderful. And I thought all of PTA's speeches were solid as well. They were, for someone of PTA's caliber, I mean, you said it as we were texting back and forth. I mean, the guy's been making masterpieces for 30 years, finally won Oscars, and he was so gracious as a winner. And I really love to see that. So those were some highlights for me. A low light was actually, sadly, the I Lied to You performance. I think that
really
was such a great moment in the movie Sinners. And I just do not think that magic translated to the stage performance at all.
Interesting. I don't know that I agree with you. I don't think that it achieved what it achieved in the movie, but I actually really enjoyed the live performance. It felt like chaos to me. Ironically, I think the sound mixing kind of messed it up for me, because it did turn into a cacophony rather than into the building beautiful melody that comes out in the film. But, this goes back to what I said about the Bridesmaids up there not, making light of sound mixing. When you don't get it right, that's what happens, is you wind up with a mess of sounds. But hard for me to knock the performance for bad mixing, because Miles Caton is just Oh God. The minute he takes a guitar out now, I'm just all ears.
I wanted to love it. I was excited for it. And then you kind of talked me out of it. I feel bad now. But I think that Barbra Streisand singing The Way We Were was rough. I think like her paying tribute to Robert Redford was wonderful. But then she started singing and like the mood of the moment was just kind of shattered.
Yeah, I don't know. It actually really got to me when she sang, because I think that is a really vulnerable thing for her to do at her age. And I think that the emotion of her choosing to do that in front of her peers, I don't know, that really got, like, it actually broke my heart, because she wouldn't do that unless, she really loved him and really wanted to honor him and, try to bring back a moment that we know, has been lost to film history. And just, I don't know.
That's a great movie too.
I know I've seen it. It's one of those ones that like I've seen a million years ago and I couldn't tell you a thing about it.
But overall, I think it was a good Oscars. I think, we have good years and less good years, and I think this was a good year. We talked a lot earlier about just the variety of types of movies that were nominated. The awards were, kind of spread out enough, right? One Battle won 6, Sinners won 4, Frankenstein weirdly got 3, but they were the ones we figured it would.
No, I thought, I thought it would get those 3. I think I was right on all 3 Frankenstein wins, in fact.
But, you threw in a Jessie Buckley for Hamnet. You had an Amy Madigan for Weapons, which wasn't nominated for anything else. Couple surprises on smaller movies, weird. Smaller awards. I thought it was a good show.
I thought it was a good show, too. Some of the jokes didn't land. Chris Evans and RDJ stunk up the stage pretty bad.
Yeah, that was weird.
It was weird. And it also just felt like, this is because ABC is producing this and they want to remind everybody that there's another Avengers movie coming
Disney
out.
Disney exists.
Yeah, and now we need to be constantly reminded of that. There was another one with 2 actors who I didn't even recognize, a father-son duo, where they're...
Oh, yeah. It was... I always mix up... It was Bill Pullman, right?
I think
like
so.
Pullman Paxton always screws with me.
Yes, I think this one was Pullman. I think you're right. And those 2 had no comic timing, to the point where I was like, are they joking? I actually don't know what they're doing.
Are they actually father and son? They seem like they've never interacted with one another before.
Have they ever exchanged words, or is this the first time they're meeting on stage? That's really uncomfortable for them to do that. Loved Ewan McGregor and Nicole Kidman going up there and giving us Moulin Rouge. Oh, yeah. There was literally a moment where I was like, why would they put them on stage together? What have they ever done? And then I remembered, that's right. The movie that when they did it together, we were like, oh my God.
Another friend during the show too. And I think Moulin Rouge Ewan is peak Ewan. I love Nicole Kidman in most things.
Oh,
so
I can't. Yeah, I actually can't think of too many things I dislike either of them in. They are probably 2 of my favorite performers.
Yeah, so they were fun.
So I loved that. Yeah, and then like I said, Conan's opening sequence as Gladys was just had me rolling.
Yeah, great way to kick off the show.
Absolutely. All right. Well, a great Oscars. Congratulations again on your win. I am.
Well, thank you, sir.
Happy for you, and certainly not displeased for me, because I get to go to 1939. And even though you're going to indulge in more rewatching, I will find us something that is fresh and new.
You will find something, and I am counting on you to have me watch something for the first time.
All right. Well, happy Oscars week, Michael.
Happy Oscars week to you. And thanks, everybody, for joining us on a little bonus episode of The Screen Hoppers. It's always fun to chat movies with you, Ian. This was fun because we got to just talk about a whole bunch of movies, most of them really good movies.
Rarely do we have to scan 10 movies like that and just say what we loved.
And so, make sure and subscribe to the show on your favorite podcasting platform, on YouTube. Follow us at The Screen Hoppers. You can follow me at _Michael.
Wow, you did
Ian.
it. You flipped
I did it.
No, you messed it up. You'd been
I
doing
messed
so
it up.
well.
I did. Is it Michael's _upleft?
At Ian _upleft. That's it. We're putting you on a record, and I'm hitting a button. Strike 3. Yes, you were at Michael _upleft. I am at Ian _upleft.
Well, follow us there. But like I said, more importantly, subscribe to the show. Join us next time. Got lots of great movies coming up.
He just had a few small beers, officer.
Maybe that was the problem.
Maybe that wasn't
the problem. All right. See y'all next time.
See you next time on The Screen Hoppers.
The Screen Hoppers is an Upleft Media production, written by Ian Tarter and Michael Smith. Produced, sound engineered, and edited by Ian Carter, with special thanks to Rosie Page.